Okay, so I have finally finished my kill team, my Death Korps of Krieg kill team squad, unit team, kill team. But yes, working on them for quite a while now, far too long for just 10 miniatures, but I have them done, I have them ready, they're sitting there, you can't see them that well. Wanted to take you through the final processes. In the original video on my kill team, I did my base coating, my original sort of color scheming, and trying to deviate from traditional kind of Death Korps colors and stuff like that. I went with green. I went with sort of aging them as well. If you want to check out how I've done my shading, my detailing, my glow effect, and my basing and my varnishing as well, stick around and I'll take you through the entire process of what I've done to finish them up. And then next, what I'll do is I'll do a video about how I'm going to create a carry case to transport them back and forward from games. So hopefully you enjoy the process. Let me know if you have any comments based on what I've done, my color scheme, or any kind of my techniques and stuff like that. More than happy to hear about what you got to say. Just let me know and I'll speak to you soon.
Following on from last time, I started by getting into some of the smaller areas that require a little bit more focus. As I said before, I was kind of getting into the detailing in this video. But for the bedrolls on top of the rucksacks, I used Flayed One Flesh and a little bit of Baneblade Brown as well. And I found that the earthier tones were much harder to work with than the other kind of more common shades, you know, green, yellow, blue, stuff like that. I only recently bought earth tones to begin with, recently. To create, I was using them to create more realistic paint recipes and things like this. And I have noticed that my normal style of painting, which doesn't require a massive amount of thinning, I thin everything on a page or on smaller surfaces. I don't always thin with water. It doesn't really work well with these earth tones, which many of you probably would have told me anyway. But I did notice though that the Flayed One Flesh in particular kind of clumps up a little bit when it's not thinned, as paint really should. But it looks a bit more like wool, which is kind of cool whenever you're creating bedrolls and like these kind of woolen textures. So that it kind of turned out a little bit of a win for me. But from there, I moved on to shading, taking the lighter earth tones from before and darkening them down with a bit of shadow just to make it look more textured. I did some of the metals as well while I worked on shades, and I just used Egrak's Earth Shade and Nuln Oil respectively for those, nothing special there. But with a lot more of the major spaces and stuff done, especially from the previous video, I decided to move on some of the smaller areas. I started with the power coils and the vents and stuff for the laser and plasma weapons. Now I wanted to go for something a little bit more effective than what I normally manage whenever I do some energy coils and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for the finished glow effects if you can spot them at the end, and let me know what you think about how that worked out. Now, this video is a bit special because it's the first time I've recorded proper use of technical paints that aren't, you know, ones that aren't just like your Tesseract glow and your color effects like that. Because I wanted to make sure that these Kriegers are a unit of hardened and like long-serving veterans who've been out in the field for possibly months, years maybe, I wanted to create a sense of wear and age to their kit and their appearance. So I grabbed a pot of Typhus Corrosion and used it to add some rust and rot to the exposed metal parts of each unit, like the armor and the weapons. In some very small coppery areas, I also used some Nihilak Oxide too, just to get that nice verdigris effect. So you maybe won't see that here, but I'll try and highlight it as best I can. After that, it was back to more shading and detailing, taking care to pay special attention to the leather of the gloves and the weapon stocks and stuff like that. With all this done, you know, I was pretty happy with how the lads were starting to look, but they weren't quite grimdark enough for me yet. And how do we make things more grimdark? With, yeah, you guessed it, more Nuln Oil, which I applied in several layers. You'll see that at the end. Shading and detailing went on for quite some time after this, and I eventually got what I wanted with the look, with the grimdark look. All that was left after that was to cover the bases. I like the kill team idea that the units you paint are more specialized than normal tabletop units, but when painting these guys, that fact itself made me realize that I had to put a little bit more effort into the overall aesthetic and uniformity of these guys. But to do that, I used the basing materials were Martian Iron Earth with grass and gravel, basically. I did some additional layers of that afterwards, but you can see from here, this is basically just how I did them. But to keep the materials from falling off the bases, the grasses can be a total nightmare sometimes. I made a mixture of Storm Shield and water in a mug, then sank each mini into the mug up to its ankles, basically, to seal things in so that the grass and stuff would be part of the varnish, realistically. But then after that, I went over each mini with Ard Coat and Storm Shield, separated the gloss and matte surfaces, and just made sure they all got a nice coat of varnish to seal the paint on. Then after that, the lads were done. It was really nice and relieving to see them finally finished. Then in the back of my mind, I knew I had to get back to the monster project that has been my Imperial Night. I've done some varnishing on them and nothing else since last time. And just looking at the decrepit condition of this guy just does not inspire any confidence in me into how that's going to progress. But we'll get back on it. And even regardless of how apprehensive I am about that, I finally got my first ever table-ready set of Kill Team miniatures. I'm super proud of them, and I hope you like how they look.
It's really, really nice to finally have those done, and as I said there, it's a bit daunting to know that the only project I still have, I have two projects actually. I still have my robotgorillaman model to do, but I have two of those major projects left to do. The nights are terrifying me because it just takes so long, and they're so big, and there's so much magnitude to that project, but that's the next one that I'm going to try and finish off after however many dozens of hours of work that I've done. But what did you think of my kill team? How do you think they looked in the end? I did a little bit more basing of them after the video was filmed, but it's not massively different to what you saw there. Do you like the color scheme? Do you like what I did? Do you like the aging? Do you like the fact I tried to make it look like they've been out in the field for a long time? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Let me know. Love to start some discussions. Thank you to everybody who's been subscribing recently as well. Been paying a lot more attention to my channel than I have. But yes, thank you so much to everybody. I hope more people keep joining us because it's really nice to build a community like this. If you have any feedback, if you have anything you want me to try, get in touch, leave a comment, anything like that, and I will try and see what I can do. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.